wife were up very early and were surprised to see the scientist's door wide open. Usually it was shut and locked, and he was furious if anyone entered his room. The opportunity seemed too good to be missed. They peeped round the door, saw nobody, and decided to investigate. The bedclothes were called, showing that the scientist must have been up for some time, and stranger still, the clothes and bandages that he always wore were lying about the room. All of a sudden, Mrs. Hall heard a sniff close to her ear. A moment later, the hat on the bedpost leapt up and dashed itself into her face. Mrs. Hall and her husband woke up very early and were surprised as the door to the guest room was open. Usually, the scientist's room door remained closed and locked, and he used to get very angry if anyone tried entering his room. And it was an opportunity, and Mrs. Hall did not want to miss it. They decided to investigate when they saw that nobody was inside the room. His bed sheets were cold, which showed that he must have been up for a while, and also the bandages that he used to tie around his face were lying around the room. Suddenly, Mrs. Hall heard a sniff close to her ear, and Griff's hat that was lying on the bedpost flung towards Mrs. Hall and hit her on her face. Then the bedroom chair became alive. Springing into the air, it charged straight at her, legs foremost. As she and her husband turned away in terror, the extraordinary chair pushed them both out of the room and then appeared to slam and lock the door after them. Mrs. Hall almost fell down the stairs in hysterics. She was convinced that the room was haunted by spirits and that the stranger had somehow caused these to enter into her furniture. "My poor mother used to sit in that chair," she moaned. "To think it should rise up against me now." The feeling among the neighbors was that the trouble was caused by witchcraft. Then we can see that the chair in the room dashed itself, hitting Mrs. Hall in her legs. As they got scared, Mrs. Hall and her husband were going out of the room when the chair closed the door, and suddenly a sound of slamming the door and locking were heard. This terrorized Mrs. Hall, and she was about to fall down from the stairs. She was convinced of the thought that there were spirits in her aunt's room and that the stranger had caused this to happen. She mourned that her mother used to sit in the chair which hit her legs, and thought that how could it rise up against her, while the neighbors of Mrs. Hall thought that it was witchcraft which had caused such a thing to happen. But witchcraft or not, when news of the Bulgari at the clergyman's home became known, the strange scientist was strongly suspected of having had a hand in it. Suspicion grew even stronger when he suddenly produced some ready cash, though he had admitted not long before that he had no money. The village constable was secretly sent for. Instead of waiting for the constable, Mrs. Hall went to the scientist, who had somehow mysteriously appeared from his empty bedroom. "I want to know what you have been doing to my chair upstairs," she demanded. "And I want to know how it is you came out of an empty room and how you entered a locked room." When the news of the Bulgari at the clergyman's house reached other people in the town, everyone started suspecting the strange scientist. Suspicion grew stronger on him when he produced ready cash for his payment at the inn, even though he told some time back that he did not have money and was waiting for a check to arrive. The village constable was called for, and Mrs. Hall did not want to wait for him, did not want to wait for the constable. She went straight to Griffin as he had appeared from the empty bedroom at the inn. She asked him what had he been doing upstairs to her chairs and furniture, and she also asked him How did he come out of the empty bedroom or enter the locked bedroom? The scientist was always quick-tempered. Now he became furious. You don't understand who or what I am, he shouted. Very well, I'll show you. Suddenly he threw off bandages, whiskers, spectacles, and even nose. It took him only a minute to do this. The horrified people in the bar found themselves staring at the headless man. Mr. Jaffers, the constable, now arrived and was quite surprised to find that he had to arrest a man without a head. See, now the scientist became really angry and he started shouting that they don't understand who or what he was and decided to show them the truth. He removed his bandages, whiskers, spectacles, and also his nose. It took him just a minute to do all this, and the people in the bar were horrified as they looked at the headless man. Mr. Jaffers, the constable of the village, was surprised as he saw that he had to arrest a man without any head. But Jaffers was not easily prevented from doing his duty. If a magistrate's warrant ordered a person's arrest, then that person had to be arrested with or without his head. They followed a remarkable scene as the policeman tried to get hold of a man who was becoming more and more invisible as he threw off one garment after another. Finally, a shirt flew into the air and the constable found himself struggling with someone he could not see at all. Some people tried to help him, but found themselves hit by blows that seemed to come from nowhere. Here we can see the constable Jaffer still wanted to do his duty as he knew that the magistrate wanted him to arrest the person and it did not matter that he had a head or not. As he threw away more and more of his clothes, he became more and more invisible and finally, after Griffin removed his shirt, he was nowhere to be seen and Jaffers was struggling to arrest a man who had become completely invisible. People who tried helping Jaffers are also struggling as they were hit by blows from nowhere. In the end, Jaffers was knocked unconscious as he made a last attempt to hold on to the unseen scientist. They were nervous, excited cries of "Hold him!" But this was easier said than done. Griffin had shaken himself free and no one knew where to lay hands on him. See, now the people were trying to help Jaffers. As Jaffers made his last attempt to catch hold of the invisible man, he was knocked unconscious by the invisible man. Everybody was shouting, "Hold him!" repeatedly, but Griffin had set himself free from them and nobody could understand how to catch him. We can say that footprints without feet describes the tendency of human nature to misuse creative discoveries meant for common good, but end up creating trouble by misappropriating it. I hope you understood the lesson, and if you have any doubt, please do clarify the earliest. Thank you for watching.